This season of Crazy Sexy Food is sponsored by KJ's. KJ's is an independent, family-run business that has been making specialty sauces for professional chefs and home cooks like myself since 1985. KJ's first launched with its Goldfish brand curry sauce concentrates. More recently, they launched Taste KJ's of Suffolk. Inspired by travels to wonderful destinations around the world, these are 6 authentic, quick and easy cook-in sauces and 4 Asian-inspired squeezy sauces. My particular favourites are the Spanish tomato sauce with its added paprika, as well as the Thai po chili sauce to rev up my meals. Order my favourites as well as the whole collection from kejayssauces.co.uk. That's KEEJAYS sauces.co.uk. Hello and welcome to Crazy Sexy Food. I'm your host, Hannah Harley-Young. I'm interested not only in food, but the people behind the food and the stories behind the people. Each episode, I sit down and talk all things food with well-known personalities, industry insiders, and people who, well, just love their food. Today, I'm joined by one of the nation's most loved models and presenters, Lisa Snowdon. She first caught our eyes as the face of infamous commercials for Lynx, Neutrogena, Triumph, and Mercedes, to name but a few, and has graced the covers of Vogue, Elle, and Marie Claire. She then embarked on a presenting career, fronting Britain's Next Top Model, the Capital FM breakfast show, and she has appeared on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and Strictly Come Dancing, where she came third. Did I also mention she was featured in FHM's 100 Sexiest Women 10 times? I fancy her even more now. Nowadays, her gorgeous, down-to-earth personality and model looks brighten up my weekly mornings as she presents the fashion segment on This Morning. It's a pleasure to have her on the podcast today. Lisa, thank you for joining me.
In
Finally.
the flesh. Yes, we meet.
We've tried this about 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
We had Wi-Fi issues during
Yeah.
lockdown. We've had other all sorts
situations
of
have cropped up. We have obstacles thrown at us left, right and centre, but we finally
But
sit.
we are here.
Here.
And how are you?
I'm really well.
How has this year been for you?
It's been so bizarre.
Yeah.
It really has. And, you know, I just have wobbles every now and then thinking about what's coming next. Do you know what I mean? Because I think we've all just really tried to push on and to adapt and to adjust and to do what we can, you know, in order to keep our energies up, just keeping positive. You know, that lack of contact, that lack of seeing my parents is just still hideous. I really can't handle it. And, obviously, so many people are in so many awful situations. So I do thank my lucky stars every day. But it's been a weird one, and it's so not over yet either.
I think that's the issue for me. If I knew that there was an end game and an end date, we can work towards
Absolutely,
it, right?
but it keeps moving. The goalpost keeps moving. Did you see the thing I posted the other day? It was like, if 2020 was a pizza topping, it would be pubes. And I was like, yes, that sums up 2020
I actually need to
completely.
put that up on the Crazy Sexy
you
Food one
have
because,
to.
I mean, it's just...
It's like, could I get a refund on this pizza, please?
Well, I am celebrating my birthday this month, but I am not aging a year.
That's good.
Because I just feel like this has been a cancelled year.
Yeah. I feel cheated. It's almost like it doesn't exist. And we all started off so positively at the beginning of the year. It was like 2020, it's such a great number, it's going to be our year.
New decade.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. And I just thought collectively we must have fucked it up.
I mean, literally. It couldn't have gone. I actually do think about New Year's Eve. I mean, I didn't really do anything for it, but I remember thinking, this is it. New decade, really powerful. Yeah. I mean, it literally couldn't have gone fucking worse if we tried.
Absolutely. I know. I'm just trying to keep positive, but I do get a little bit down. Yeah. I have to be honest.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And I just have to realise that I just be kind to myself, you know.
Totally.
It's just a bit emotional from time to time, and I just worry about people, and I worry about my parents, and you know, people that are poorly in hospital and all this stuff. And it's just crazy. I just don't know why we haven't got a handle on it. So speaking to people in Japan, there are 1,000 cases. There's so many people in Japan, and they're like, "What are you doing over there?" Well, it's like, what aren't you doing over there?
That's a separate
I know,
conversation
we're not going to get into
off
that.
air.
Let's talk about yummy food and
So you've just come from ACT this morning.
Yeah, I have come on this morning.
When you are sort of filming for things like that, that's obviously an early start. What are you usually having for breakfast that early in the morning?
So I've been sometimes fasting.
Okay.
Yeah, so a couple of times a week I might not eat in the morning until maybe lunchtime. And it kind of works for me because I haven't been exercising as much in lockdown. I have definitely not been doing any cardio, been doing a bit of weights, a bit of Pilates and stuff like that. So I find for me it just helps to skip out breakfast a couple of times a week. But this morning, for example, I had a couple of almonds and a fig.
Ooh, I had a fig.
I love a fig.
I love a fig.
I really do. So good for you as well,
Yeah.
full of fibre. Keep you regular, as my dad says.
As my mum says too.
And then I went, and then this morning I had some papaya. This is a very, very posh breakfast.
Ooh.
Papaya, which I love, with some goat's yogurt and some of those. Do you know I sprinkle on that? Is it Linwoods? And they're sort of like these sort of flaxseed and Brazil nuts, and they're all
got
milled
some in
down.
the cupboard.
And they're great to put on like your cereals,
Brilliant.
your porridge, your fruit and stuff like that. And it kind of balances out the fruit sugars with the with your proteins. So I had that, and then I've got salmon in my bag.
Yeah, can we just...
I've got salmon. I always have just in case food. I'm a real
but I like
snacker.
it. But it was sort of Lisa arrived with her bag and she brought out her selection of drinks. And then she had a little Tupperware. I thought that maybe there'd be some seeds and some nuts in there, but she did have some salmon.
So this is pan-fried salmon, which bloody stinks now, let's be honest. I've got to eat that. That's going to not be... That doesn't travel that well, does it? It's like a banana. It's like, how do you age a banana? Put it in a rucksack. It's that kind of vibe. But yeah, I've always been a bit of a... I squirrel away things. I like to have food with me, and I do love snacking, and I like to have healthy stuff with me. When I was on the Capital Breakfast Show, my nickname was Eggy Snowdon because I used to take 2 boiled eggs every morning, hard-boiled eggs that I boiled the night before, in my handbag. That when I started cracking them open in the studio, the most disgusting smell.
Is hilarious.
And they'd be like, Snowy, what's that? And I'd be like, sorry. And I'd just be eating my boiled eggs. Can't eat eggs anymore. I literally overdid it. For about 5 years, I ate 2 eggs every day. Literally, be careful because you might become intolerant to them if you do anything too much. Everything catches up with you in the end. So yeah, I can't eat eggs anymore. But so now I'm just moving on to salmon.
Okay. I wonder what will be the next culprit.
I'd be like, I can't eat salmon. I don't know what it will be. I'll keep you posted.
I have to say, it doesn't smell.
No.
I mean, if you want a fork, I'm more than happy
I've
for
got
you
a fork,
to eat.
don't
Okay,
worry.
right, she's got everything. Okay, everyone take a leaf out of Lisa's book. So I just want to take it back to your childhood a bit. What was life like growing up? You grew up just outside London. What were you eating? Who was cooking? You know, was food important in your family?
Food, when I look back, my mum did all the cooking, but it was very, it wasn't very exciting, I have to be honest. It was all sort of, bird's eye potato waffles and Finder's crispy pancakes.
Yeah, well, I mean, still very delicious.
I mean, and like, do you remember those Frey Bentos steak and kidney pies? It was all these sort of very easy convenience, lots of tins. I remember lots of, tinned fruit. And, sometimes we'd have cauliflower cheese with a little bit of gammon, but it was boil in the bag cod. It was all these very sort of 70s,
I had
80s.
gammon as well,
Smash,
which was my worst.
smashed potato,
Yeah.
instant smash. So, I got down with all that sort of stuff, but it was very easy, convenient food. And my mum would occasionally, she'd do a roast on a Sunday, but it was like vegetables that were very overboiled. She's never admit, she knows that she's not a good cook. Bless her. She's never been that into food, still not now even. So but for me, it's such a massive priority. And when I look back, it wasn't very exciting at all. My nana and granddad, my nana used to cook a lot. So when we used to go over there, and actually I was born in Harlow because my nan and granddad lived in Sawbridgeworth, and so we were living with them whilst I was in her tummy, and then straight after I was born we were there for a couple of weeks or a month, and then we moved to Welwyn Garden City in Hertfordshire. So I used to spend a lot of time over at my nan and granddad's, and she used to cook a lot, and that food was delicious. So delicious roasts, and lots of roast beef and standard kind of roast. But when we were little, it was very basic food. We didn't have much money, so it was like I said, just like lots of vegetables and lots of easy to cook.
But did you have any sort of interest? Like, were you helping your mum in the kitchen, or was it sort of quite separated in that sense?
I mean, it was the thing that I loved to cook, and I still do this now, was spaghetti cheese. So just loads of spaghetti, grilled cheddar cheese, and then we'd put it under the grill and and I'd sit in front of the oven and just watch it bubble. And
that is the ultimate comfort food.
It is, isn't it? And I still do that now with my food because I love to look through the oven and see what's going on. And it just takes me back to being in front, warm in front of the cooker, sitting on the floor, just watching the food.
I still
grill
do it
or
too.
bubble and bake. And so in that respect, I did help her a little bit. I think I kind of was interested in food. And then I started traveling when I was when I was about sort of 18, 19, I lived in Japan. So that was a kind of real eye-opener food-wise. And actually a bit of a shock to the system because I was like, what is that? I'm not eating that, It was a couple of really crazy things like sea urchins and even a lot of the food in the bento boxes. It was really colourful, but you couldn't associate, you didn't know what it was. And I'm very much eat with my eyes, or I was eat with my eyes kind of girl. But then I started going to sort of Arizona. I remember having guacamole and having sort of Mexican food. And I'd come back to Wellington and I'd be like, guys, you got to try this. And I'd buy all the spices and I'd make guacamole. And it was like, I was sort of educating my, because I was getting to eat. I mean, I didn't even have Chinese food. I didn't try anything really exotic.
But I was about to say, but that food, I think at the time in the UK was exotic. Mexican food, guacamole, you're saying, Japanese food. People didn't really eat that. It wasn't like it is nowadays.
No, absolutely not.
So you went to Italia Conti.
Yeah.
While you were sort of in your teens, what were you wanting to potentially do with your life?
I wanted to be on stage.
You wanted to be on stage?
I went to see Cats when I was 11 with my nan and granddad. My granddad fell asleep. And I couldn't believe it. And we were really close to the front and he was snoring away. And I was just like mesmerised. Because when you go to see Cats, you're literally on the stage, aren't you almost? You're there. And I was just like, what is this? I just loved it. And I was like, Granddad, how are you sleeping through this? This is like life-changing. And so I left there and I was like, that is it. I want to be on stage. I want to sing, I want to dance, I want to perform. And so I was going to dancing classes and sort of singing and acting and doing all that stuff after school every day. And my teacher, Melanie, she said, when I was 14, she said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go to stage school. I want to be a performer. So she said, you should go to stage school when you're 16, but why don't you go and do an audition now when you're 14, just so that you aren't as scared when you're 16. You've got it under your belt. You kind of know what to expect and you're prepared. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. So we prepared all of the songs, the dance. You have to do quite a lot. You have to jump through quite a few hoops. And I ended up going and doing the audition. And they accepted me on the day. And I did not expect it. And I think when I look back now, I think they just needed to fill that quota of people. I feel like somebody must have dropped out. And so they said, get her to fill the position. Because the headmaster was like, she's not the greatest singer or the greatest dancer, but there's something about her. We want your money, basically.
No, they saw something early, Lisa.
So I went to Italia Conti. So I was like 14 years old, travelling up to London by myself in my little kilt and my little blazer and just sort of slightly out of my depth and all these really cool chicks from London. And actually, that's when I first had a Taco Bell.
Oh my, they had Taco Bell in
Bell
London at
in
that
Piccadilly
time?
near the Trocadero. So that's where I went there when I was about 15 and I had a curly perm. And I remember just thinking, I'd never had a taco before in my life. It was like the hard shell beef spicy taco. Yeah. And I just couldn't believe it. It was like a taste sensation. It was like the best thing I'd ever eaten. And I didn't know how to eat it because it kind of crunches and collapses. And I was trying to watch everybody else to sort of know what's the etiquette of how to eat a taco. But that was my first kind of, I was hanging out in London. I was with all the cool girls, lived in Chelsea. I was like, and there was people from all over the country. But, it was a great time. It was a great time. But I definitely wasn't the best singer or the best dancer.
I assume I'm sort of fast forwarding a little bit, but you then get scouted by Premier Models.
It wasn't by Premier, it was by a smaller agency.
Okay.
And it wasn't while I was lap dancing or
stripping. I was about to say, is that true or is that not true? Were you on a pole dancing?
I wish I was on a pole dancing. Have you ever tried to pole dance? It's the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's one of the most incredible exercises. I really want to go and do classes.
I know, I do too.
Yeah.
When I watch it, it's absolutely fabulous.
I'm mesmerised.
Yeah, me too. So we went to Vegas, actually, the capital. We're jumping all over the place here. My brain's like, do.
No, I love it.
And when in Vegas, you have to do a pole dancing class, of course. I literally did an hour's class of just walking around the pole, nothing crazy at all, and I was dripping with sweat. Just the moves and just the way you're leaning back and you're pulling in that sort of tension between you and your body and the pole and everything. is incredible. So I can't imagine what it's like once you start actually climbing and then the thighs are wrapped around it like solid thighs of steel.
I have a couple of friends who've done classes and their thighs were so bruised up.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You've got to have such deep core strength for something like that.
I know. It looks beautiful.
Oh, it is beautiful.
It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So I wish I was a pole dancer. I wish I was a pole dancer. The one quote that gets...
There we go.
My work here is done.
I'll be honest with you, Lisa. I kind of wish I was a pole dancer.
Oh my God. I do too. Well, you should get a pole in here. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, I might get one.
We just
I'm
like
gonna go to my new
elevate those
flat,
after
actually.
parties.
You can get these sort of retractable ones that sort of like fit according to your...
Leo would love it. Come
I
on
bet
now.
you would.
But no, I wasn't dancing on a pole. I was on a podium at a club not far from here. It was like... it was a night called MFI. It was like on the Westway or something.
It wasn't subterranean.
It wasn't subterranean, but it was close to subterranean. Okay. But it was like a proper rave, and I was like just raving. I jumped up onto the podium and just was just like, loved the tune, just had a little boogie, and somebody was like, excuse me. And I was like, yes. She was like, do you want to be a model? And I was like, what? And I was like, I had a few drinks, and I was like, really? And she gave me her card, and I sort of left it for a couple of weeks, and then I ended up calling her, and then I joined the agency, and it was okay. I started working a little bit. But then I joined Premier.
And so what sort of year was this? This would have been...
That would have been... So I was 19, so 30 years ago.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So 1990.
And at this time, so you sort of get into the modelling industry. What was your attitude to food like at this point? You know, because the modelling industry has a bit of a... It did...
But
have a bit of a reputation.
Stage school too.
Yeah.
Like you go from like, because I never wanted to be a hardcore ballet dancer, and I didn't obviously ever have, and I started to get quite tall. So when I was 14, I was quite petite. Then I just shut up at 16. But you can imagine that there are like sort of hardcore dancers at Italia Conti, at all stage schools, performing arts schools. And so food had started to, I could see that could be an issue for some people. But because I was picked on when I was little for being so tiny and so skinny, like hideously bullied for a long time, that I just ate, and I just honestly couldn't put on any weight. I mean, my mum, she used to just give me everything possible that was so fattening when I was little, like double-decker, snacks and Twixes and peanuts, and
really?
Because she was like, you'll thank me when you're older, but I was so tiny and they were so mean to me. So food had never been an issue for me, apart from I just wanted to consume as much as I possibly could. So yeah, I was just bring on the food. I couldn't eat enough, honestly. And that was the case up until a few years ago. Got into my 40s and that changed. Hence the fasting from time to time to sort of slightly monitor my calorie intake now, rather than I just to consume as much as I possibly could.
But when you were sort of in your early 20s and your modelling career is thriving, you do have an incredibly beautiful figure. And I'm not just saying it because you're sitting in front of me and I'm trying to sort of, suck up to you, but you do. And you sort of epitomise what a real woman should look like. You've got, curves, you've got great pair of boobs.
Thank you very much.
Which we have bonded over in the past.
Amazing titties.
Were you confident about these curves at the time?
No, not at all. And actually, when I look back at the pictures and people say, you were so curvy, I really wasn't curvy. I just had boobs.
But
do you know what I mean?
To like that 90s, so like heroin chic,
and androgynous. Yeah. So I started at that time. And I just missed that sort of supermodel, Versace, Claudia Schiffer, Helena Christensen, all really curvaceous. Not really curvaceous, but they equally had boobs as well. So cut to a season later, and it is that androgyny, that heroin chic, that sort of Corinne Day. It was all very... And I was just like, slightly missed the boat. So I was in Paris, I was in Milan, and I just didn't fit the clothes. And I got cancelled from shoots, and I got told to lose weight. And I was just like, hang on a minute. Like, what the fuck is going on? I've been skinny all my life. Now you want me? And in my head, it just didn't sit with me. And so I just left. I left Paris, and then I left Milan. And I was like, because they took me in the toilet. They were like, we need to see your body. What's going on? Okay, you need to lose weight from here. And I was like, how am I going to lose weight from my boobs? They were like, just donate. And I was like, no. So I just come home. And in Paris, I went to a show, and I go to my rail, and it was like this little flimsy little bit of something. And I was like, I can't wear that. It's not going to fit. They were like, no, it's not going to fit. You must go. So I'd go. I remember designers actually hitting me on my chest, like asking me just to like be more concave. And so I came home, and thank God I did. And thank God I had a good enough head on my shoulders to say, you know what? This is the wrong territory for me. I don't want to do high fashion. If I have to compromise myself and my happiness and not eat, then I'm going to come home. And I literally came home and booked the Special K advert, which pretty much changed my life, because I didn't just do one commercial, I did about 5. And from that 5 commercials, FHM picked up on me. Then they started putting me in the magazines. Then MTV started seeing me. And that was just how it happened.
And it was just that rollerball effect.
And it was that, thank God I had that head on my shoulders. I look back now and just to say, this doesn't sit well with me. I'm not going to compromise my health and just so I can fit into a tiny wisp of something. And it, you know, I'm not slagging the modelling industry, because it's been fabulous for me. I've had a great career, but I just think if people start too young, or if they perhaps had any kind of issues or insecurities or eating disorders, as a, you know, it can flick that switch again, and it could be quite temperamental. So I luckily just came home and was like, nah, you're all right.
I think what I admire from that is that you hear so many stories of that exact scenario in Paris. The clothes don't fit you. Someone's telling you every possible thing about you that's wrong, that needs to be lost. For someone quite young and sort of embarking in this industry, you had a lot of strength to be able to be like, no. Yeah,
I don't know how. When I look back, I don't really know how. I just sort of, I think perhaps when you, like, recently I've been thinking a lot, and I think this year we've all been very reflective, haven't we? And you know, we've just sort of really, you know, you look at the little things, you look at your life, you think, how have I ended up here? And actually, I think the bullying from when I was in infant school into my secondary school gave me a thick skin, and I think I just somehow toughened up more than I ever thought. I think I was tougher than I thought I was, basically. So in that respect, everything happens for a reason, and it takes you to where you are now.
Totally.
So I guess I think food was such a big passion. Like, when I did discover all these delicious tastes, I was like, why would I want to not eat and
deny myself?
Deny myself. There's a world out of culinary delights that I've yet to even, you know, discover. I'm not going to do that. And so thankfully I just,
And in your modelling career, what was your favourite job that you did? What was there any that sort of stood out for you?
Oh, there were so many, and they were so different. They were so funny. I loved the commercials, because I loved that kind of moving camera, you know, that sense of sort of spontaneity and, you know, and more fun and energy. And I guess
that also brought out your stage school training as well, in a sense, because it is a bit of performing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Camera.
Absolutely. I was only there for 2 years, but yeah.
But still.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Still.
It does give you a little bit of that sort of training. I could perform a bit and, you know, just be comfortable, I guess, enough to sort of improvise or do silly things and not feel ridiculous. But yeah, it's all been really varied, and I don't think I could pick a job. I mean, there was moments when I pinched myself, like, you know, head to toe in Dior and, you know, a beautiful hotel with a bodyguard like watching over me, not so I don't run off with all the jewellery. Desperately tempted to run out the window, like disappear down Champs-Elysees to do a runner. But yeah, there's been some great shoots, and I love the process of the makeup and the hair, and I love the lighting, and I love the drama. I love that whole storytelling. I think it's really fun. But equally, I had great time on catalogue shoots. You know, we'd go off to Barbados, like a crew of us, and we'd just party our asses off and just go out drinking rum punch, and then somehow next day wake up and shoot, like, so, you know, sometimes quite bad clothes, but make them look fabulous in locations and style them out. And that was really fun, because I became really friendly with all the crews and the makeup artists and the cameramen and the photographers and stuff. So it was like old friends just going on holiday. So I look back with very fond memories.
Present day, and I would say actually also this infamous year, you detail a lot of interest sort of in healthy eating, wellness, cooking.
Yep.
I have been following quite a bit of your videos on social media. How important is leading sort of a healthy life for you? Is it all about moderation?
It's about balance, absolutely balance. I was thinking on the way here, I wonder what she's going to ask me about food. And I was like, what do I like to eat? I like to eat a little bit of everything. And I think life's too short to deny yourself stuff. I think it's about balance. And I think, you know, I do need to exercise for mental health. And then when I exercise, I want to eat well. And I think it all just goes hand in hand. And I think I love cooking my own food. I love knowing what's going in it. I love going to the fridge and finding random stuff and just making something work. Like, that for me is a successful meal. Just kind of, I call it a smorgasbord of just like random stuff.
You're really good at that. I've noticed that. You're very good at sort of going into the fridge and being like, okay, I've got a bit of salmon left over, a random packet of spinach, this, that, and I'm
Yeah.
going to,
Yeah.
you know,
Like
is
figs,
that just sort of
halloumi.
years of kind of knowing about flavour and
I think
maybe travelling?
Yeah, maybe. I'm actually really good with flavour. Like I just make stuff up and I just know how I want it to taste. So I've always been that person that I started to then, when I went to restaurants and tried delicious things, I would then try and recreate them at home. And that's just kind of what I do. So I've got a cupboard full of spices. I always have my herbs. I always have my chili, my garlic, my ginger, you know, my sort of staples. And I think once you've got that and if you've got a bit of cheese, you can make anything work. Do you know what I mean?
Cheese makes everything better.
Just add a bit
Is
of
there
cheese.
anything that cheese like
No.
shouldn't go
No.
with? I mean,
Just cheese. Add a bit of cheese. If in doubt, just put some cheese on top.
if you are doing the slightly everything
Healthier?
no, actually the complete opposite.
Oh, right.
Everything in moderation. What is a treat day for you?
Truffle chips with parmesan, pizza, loads of spaghetti,
So all the bits. I
extra
love,
cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, carbs.
Yeah.
Like fish pie with loads of creamy mashed potato, cheese on top,
Yeah.
grilled. Basically, just all the really good comfort food.
Yeah.
I love potatoes cooked any way.
Okay.
You can fry them, you can chip them, you can bake them, you can cream them, you can smash them, you can do whatever. Basically, I should have a potato commercial.
I mean, listen. After this, McCain's are going to be calling.
Oh my God, yeah.
And what are some of your specialities at home? Because obviously you've been cooking a lot this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I do cook a good bit of fish. I like a nice bit of pan-fried halibut
Oh, I
with
love
some like
halibut.
little baby roast potatoes with sort of like chili and garlic, kale, crispy kale, pan-fried asparagus. Quite simple food. I'm not sort of good with jus and, you know, the sort of the fancy sort of process, that's doing that sort of long process of food. I've got my Thermomix, which is great, so I can make like soups and you can do. So it heats in it. You can cook in it, but you can also chop and you can steam. You need to.
Oh my God,
You need
okay.
to get on board
That
with one
sounds
of them.
fabulous.
And your mum
It
would love
chops
it too.
as well?
Yeah, so it chops and it sautés and it kneads bread. It's got so many. Honestly, it's like a little.
Oh, is
they
it
have them
quite
all in Europe.
large?
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
them all in
I
Europe.
think I've
Everybody
seen
has
it,
one. That's
yeah.
all they have because they've got smaller kitchens in some of the European cities. So they don't have the whole sort of ovens and everything.
Yeah.
They'll just have this Thermomix and you can do a lot of stuff. Well, you'd have maybe
brilliant.
one oven and a Thermomix rather than all the extra bits and pieces.
When you're not at home, where are some of your favourite restaurants?
Oh God, it seems so long ago. I don't remember. I mean, the last meal that I had in a restaurant before lockdown was Gymkhana. Oh my God, Lord have mercy.
Oh yeah.
The food there, the prawns, it's like
Phenomenal.
If you haven't been there, it's like the most delicious Indian food. Posh Indian, and the restaurant burnt down, and so they sort of relaunched.
Yeah.
And I think it was the end of last year, or maybe it was this year. It's blending. I don't
Yeah.
remember, but yeah, that was one of the last feasts that I had there. Ironically, there were 6 of us, but that was delicious. So I love that because I love the rice and they do lovely salmon in there and prawns and lots of vegetable dishes, but also goat and all sorts of your meaty stuff too. I love Japanese. I love Japanese food, so obviously Nobu. I've never been to Dinings though, and I've heard that is incredible.
Apparently, it is. Everyone I ask
Everywhere it looks
will
stunning.
say that their favourite Japanese restaurant is Dinings.
I know, so
and
I
they
need
have
to-
2 now as well.
Really?
Yeah, they've got one in Baker Street and one in Chelsea.
Right, it's Baker Street, it's not Marylebone.
Well, it sort of, it depends.
Same,
It
same,
depends. Sort of. I call it Baker Street because it's right where my school used to be.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't call Marylebone, but sort of it's on the other side.
It's like when I was living in Camden, I called it Primrose Hill. My friend was
Yeah.
like, no, you're in Camden, babe.
Yeah, it's like depending on who I was with when I was younger. It's like I came from Notting Hill, and some people I was like, I come from Ladbroke Grove.
Yeah. You know, it's
really
it's
depends
a
on-
street away.
Something I really wanted to know. So I mentioned that you were on I'm a Celebrity in 2016.
Yeah.
What is the food situation like over there? Are you actually in starvation mode? Are
Yeah.
people really going mad?
Yeah, and we were lucky on our year because I say we, I barely did any challenges on my own, but the camp were getting 10 stars, 10 stars. So we effectively should have been in absolute heaven, but the food basket comes down. I was the cook as well. I don't know if you ever saw the series, so I cooked everything. The food basket comes down and you don't know what's in it, and then everything in there is edible, so you can eat every part of every vegetable, but it's stuff that you've never heard of. And crocodile tail will be in there, which actually was one of the most delicious things. But you've got no oil, you've got no spices, you've got nothing, you've got no salt and pepper. And it's just, you know, our year we had an allotment. So I, as soon as I got there, planted everything up just in hope that we would get something in those 2 weeks. I got,
Hopeful.
yeah, there was like I got a little bit of like a garlic kind of a spring oniony garlicky shoot, which I'd chop up and I'd use a little bit of that, just anything, you know. I was just tasting, I was like tasting, sniffing, tasting, and people were like, what is she doing? So I just tried to get some flavour out of it. But there's been something called like a squab, which was almost like a little weird, tiny little bony bird. And it was like, well, I mean, what do you do with that? By the time you sort of cooked it down and, you know, I thought, well, I'll boil the bones. We could make a broth. We could add that to the rice. You could, you know, try, but without any salt, I swear to God, it's oily, it's disgusting, and it's bony. So people wouldn't eat it. So the main staple of our diet is beans and rice. So that was really boring. Hence the fact that we all lose so much weight. Like you just shred, and you're just drinking water. And 24 hours is a long amount of time.
I'm just convinced if I ever did something like that, I'd just sneak some stuff in, like snack-wise.
Thinking about it, I should have. You probably could have, because they didn't check my bag.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I should have just rammed it full of, even just salt and stuff like that.
I have to just, if you don't mind, state your age, which, well, there was a bit of discrepancy earlier this year because of Wikimedia. You are 48 years old, going on 28. Well, I need to know. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you eating?
I know. Well, I eat a lot of salmon.
Because I'm actually just sitting here staring at you, and I'm like,
omega 3, omega 6, omega 9. They are so good for your skin. I mean, if you follow me, you know I do a shitload of like self-care as well.
Yeah.
And I always have. And I think, you know, because of the modelling days, the one thing I did take from that was drink a lot of water, and I've always taken vitamin C. So both of those are really good for your skin.
Okay.
Hydration, sleep. I haven't really been going out much in lockdown, so I've been more rested. Some nights obviously not, but you know, that's obviously just stress and worry. But yeah, and I go and see a great lady called Dr. Galina who does great facials.
I always end my interviews with a few quick fire questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
My favourite snack in the entire world is a packet of crisps. What is your favourite flavour of crisp and why?
I love Twiglets. I love Twiglets.
Love them.
Yeah,
no one said that.
No, I love Twiglets. But are they crisps because they're baked? I don't know.
I mean, they go down in the snack category.
Yeah. Okay. So that's different. So
they are. I don't know. That's up for discussion.
I love them, and I love them. What I do is I have a whole bottle of water with them, so I feel like I'm balancing. So because they're so like salty, aren't they? So I like sort of think I suck off the like deliciousness, and then I'm like water, and then I just. So I have this sort of like sucking, crunching situation, and then I love. Oh my God, I just love crisps. I love potatoes, so it's like
of
salt
course,
and vinegar,
yes.
ready salted.
I'm asking the right person.
You know, it's like. But then I've kind of branched out into a few little hummus chips and a lentil chip.
I've got some lentil chips in the
they're
old
delicious.
cupboard.
Anything that's crunchy, I really like, which my dentist is like
crunchy and salty.
Yes, exactly.
That could go down a very dangerous road. What is the craziest food you've ever eaten?
Blowfish sperm. That shocked you, didn't it? Yeah.
Was
in
that
Japan?
I was about to say that wasn't on Amazon.
No, it's a delicacy in Japan, and you can actually only get it for 2 weeks of the year. And so we were at a sushi bar in down in a place called Onomichi, which is down near Hiroshima. And it was like we were in this sushi bar with this amazing guy who was this big sushi man, like big kind of sushi master. And on the weekends, he dressed up as Elvis. It was like the perfect night out. And you kind of, when we go to Japan, George and I, it's a place that we just love to go to. We're dying to get back there. The food is just unreal, as you can imagine. We're kind of adventurous when we go there. We just try and say like, okay, what shall we eat? And so they serve us. And so on this particular night, it was like blowfish sperm, and I was like, well, we have to.
So how does it come? What does it look like?
So it's just almost like a sort of porridgey. You know, it's as you imagine
as
it
you
to
would
be.
imagine.
Yeah.
And what does it taste like?
It's actually really nice. It's really creamy.
As you would imagine it
As you
to
imagine,
probably taste
yeah.
as well. Okay.
Yeah, it was a sort of a silken tofu-ish,
Right.
but a little bit. I don't know which to say, looser or runnier. I don't know which is going to sound better or worse. I don't know. Yeah, it's as you imagine it to be, but it was actually really delicious. I mean, I wouldn't rush out and like be like, it's blowfish season. We need to go out and do that. Give me some of that sperm.
Yeah.
So but it was good to try it, and your face was priceless.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't know if this falls into the same category. What's your most memorable meal?
Oh gosh. George and I went to Paris, the Le Bristol Hotel in Paris. They've got a restaurant there, and it's just like, is it called Le Gastronomique? I think it might be. It's in their hotel, and it's like just phenomenal from start to finish. It's one of those meals where everything is just so delicate and exquisite, and you literally are so stuffed to the brim. But that kind of goes down in my memories just because it was just such a lovely romantic evening and beautiful wine. And but then equally in Japan, there was a place just outside of Tokyo, and it was like a ryokan. So it's that beautiful sort of Japanese traditional place that you'd stay in, and all the beds are like, you know, you've got the tatami mat. I can't even speak today. Tatami mat. The wicker mats on the floor, basically. Tatami mats and beautiful meal and so there was the presentation, because it's just exquisite, isn't it? It's like immaculate, all the presentation, and you know, that was amazing too. So I quite like those slow meals where everything looks beautiful, everything is Instagrammable, but it's equally tastes better than it looks. Absolutely. Which is, you know, fabulous. So a couple of those meals.
I think I know the answer to the next question as well. What is your favourite food?
Yeah, Japanese.
Oh, I thought you were going to say potatoes.
Yes. But I thought, okay, so cuisine or food?
Okay, I'll allow you to have. I'll allow you to separate. No,
okay. I'm trying to
get you the deal here.
Potatoes. Cut the other thing out. No, potatoes, I guess, because there's so much variety that you so much versatility, and it's comfort. It's pure comfort. But if I had to choose a cuisine, well, I can't even choose that because I love Italian too. So it's like I just love my food.
It's actually a very difficult question to ask, to be honest, because I don't think there really is a real answer to that question. It also depends on the day.
And then chocolate. I love chocolate.
No, I know.
Like darker,
it's just
the better.
Endless. The most important question I'm going to ask today is: live to eat or eat to live?
Live to eat.
Good girl.
Didn't even have to
good girl.
think about it.
Yeah.
All day long.
All day long. Lisa, thank you so much. You are a joy. You can follow Lisa Snowdon on social media at Lisa_Snowdon. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening this week. If you love what you hear, please subscribe and leave a lovely review. And if you can't get enough of me, follow me on Instagram at Crazy Sexy Food, and do visit the Crazy Sexy Food YouTube channel, where there are plenty of shows for you to watch. Until next time, bye.